What's going on, guys? Happy 4th of July Eve. A few communities across Central Florida already bringing in America's birthday a day early, red hot and boom. We had some storms around earlier, got the fireworks off a little late, but we're able to do that. In the land, we had a nice party as well, and we're going to continue to work through some storms tomorrow. We will guide you through it. Latest high resolution future radar data coming in as we speak. So we'll share that with you to get you through if you have plans. Of course, the tropics, still a hot topic. The deep tropics are asleep. There's still that little blob thing hanging off the coast of Florida through the Carolinas. It's developing as we speak, or at least the swirl is trying to get going as we speak. We're going to take a look at that as well. If you are tuning in on YouTube tonight, post in the comments where you're tuning in from. If you're watching on clickorlando.com, there's a little chat box. If you're dialing this up on News 6 Plus and want to get involved in the chat, you can do that either by going to clickorlando.com, clicking on this story, the interactive weather story, and or you can dial up the New 6 YouTube page and post in the comments like that, and we will get things rocking and rolling as well. That is not the comment, but we'll be talking about and bringing on over comments. So join the chat tonight if you have any questions, any comments. We will answer those for you going forward. I am just going to bring over the social part so I can pull over your comments. There we go, and it's not showing up. I hate when that happens. Charles, good evening. That's supposed to be your name. Berlinda, good evening from Kissimmee in Leesburg tonight. All right, so we are going to jump into it, and thankfully, all the storms are down tonight. Melissa has a question. Are any storms coming to New Smyrna Beach tonight? Don't think so. I think we're going to dry tonight. Hey, Teresa in Largo, Florida. Hope you're doing well. As far as the storms out there, they're clinging to the Gulf Coast of Florida right now, even west of Tampa. Let me put a little loop on that for you, and they are sliding from north to south. We talked about this last night, that we would have that north to south movement. We have some storms around Fort Myers, just north of Fort Myers, closer to Port Charlotte. Those are moving from north to south as well. A couple of downpours north of Miami, in between Miami and Fort Lauderdale tonight. East Orlando, Rebecca, good evening. Thank you a ton for tuning in. So that is what we're dealing with right now. Everything relatively quiet. And I think we are going to run the same kind of deal tomorrow. I am loading up as we speak. Let me get to my high-res future radar. What we're going to be dealing with tomorrow. So let's see if the latest is in. All right, it might get us through tomorrow. This is it's not the brand, it's the brand spanking new one, but it's not the one that goes out far. Let's see. This should get us through. It gets us through about 1 o'clock tomorrow. Let me show you. I got to load up the not as up-to-date one. This is from earlier this afternoon. So this came in. We have a drought question tonight. It is Thursday. The new drought monitor has come out. I will show you that. Parts of it still going to be in a drought, but we did make improvements elsewhere. I will show you that in just 1 second. So post in the comments again where you're tuning in from. Marie also from East Orlando. A lot of people tuning in from East Orlando tonight. So here's the deal. A lot of people have off. If you have off work, post in the comments where you're tuning in from tonight, what you're doing tomorrow for the 4th. By the way, live look tonight in Wedgefield and in Oak Hill this evening, brought to you by our friends at WeatherStem. Thank you for letting us use your network of cameras to show off our awesome neighborhoods across Central Florida. So here is 2 o'clock, and same kind of deal like what we saw today. We are going to bring up some thunderstorms in the early afternoon. I think most of the morning, save for a stray downpour, is on the dry side. Watch what happens, though, as we get towards 3, 4, 5 o'clock. It's that same motion again. We're going to bring storms from I-95-ish, give or take, and then they're going to work down kind of in that same diagonal fashion as they did tonight, working through Ocala, the Villages, Eustis, Mount Dora, Apopka, DeLand, Sanford, Titusville, Mims, and then gradually continuing to push down I-4, down I-75 from that northeast to southwest motion, and then end up closer to Lakeland by about 7, 8 o'clock. So there we go, 8 o'clock, getting close to fireworks time. This is what I said last night. I still remain cautiously optimistic that we are going to have fireworks go off. Now, not everywhere may be dry by around 9 o'clock or 9:30 whenever we start to see fireworks go. But I'm optimistic that any lightning storms are going to be west of Central Florida. Now, if you're watching from Palm Harbor or Tampa or Largo, St. Petersburg, Clearwater, I'm a little more concerned about you guys. If anybody tuning in from the Gulf Coast of Florida, note the light green. I think the radar picture tonight is actually going to look very, very similar to what it does right now. It's a little too close, but that's what it looks like. I think there'll be a few more showers out there tomorrow night at this time, but all the lightning should be on the Gulf Coast. So there we go. Everybody, hopefully we can get those fireworks displays in tomorrow. Here's the deal for the weekend. There is our little swirly thing. Crazy storms in Spring Hill Meme Studio. Good to see you again, my friend. Friend of the show. So we're going to fast forward to Saturday. Look at that little swirl there off of Jacksonville, off of Duval County coastline. This is the thing that we've been talking about. This is what the National Hurricane Center has highlighted. Let me show you the latest here. It's actually now 40% shot over 2 days, 60% shot to develop something tropically speaking as it moves away from Florida and then kind of skirting the eastern seaboard, Georgia coast, South Carolina coast, North Carolina coast, and then working its way out into the North Atlantic. You can kind of see that swirl right here. Look very, very closely. And over the last few frames, you may see a counterclockwise little swirl at the end there between this cloud cover and some of the rain out over the Gulf Stream tonight. That is the makings of what the Hurricane Center has highlighted. Once it gets out over the water, it's going to have the opportunity to become something weak. I mean, a low-end tropical storm is the ceiling for that thing. And that's even on the outer reaches. A lot of times, though, model guidance won't pick up on the strength because it's really underestimating the power of the Gulf Stream and the curvature of the land. When you have the air, let me get my telestrator out. When you have the shoreline going the same direction as the wind direction, it helps to tighten up the circulation a little bit. We saw that with Barry down closer to Mexico, and we could see the same thing again. And that's oftentimes what happens. It's a geographic help to get this thing tightened up. And if it does so, takes advantage of the very warm Gulf Stream, it could realize that high-end potential of that tropical storm. Cheryl listening in from Brazil. Soccer teams in town. If you're a soccer fan, playing tomorrow afternoon at Camping World Stadium. So good to see you from Brazil. So that's the makings there. Again, this is not going to be a big deal for anybody. It's just going to continue to pump in some tropical moisture for Florida. So I want to show you that again here. That's not what I wanted. This is kind of what it's going to look like on Saturday, and I'll show you the higher resolution future radar. By the time we get to Saturday, that area of low pressure is going to try to develop off the coast of Jacksonville as it lifts up. But you see most of the Florida peninsula still in that green color. We're still in that deep tropical moisture as it lifts up the eastern seaboard toward the Carolinas. So that's going to be something that we watch. I want to show you now. This is kind of in real time how it plays out. So there's lunchtime on Saturday. Notice this swirl again. So there's the area of low pressure. This is not very tropical cyclone-y at this point. We do have a swirl there. It's still over land, by the way, so you're not going to get anything to develop. But all of the weather, all of the thunderstorms are kind of pushed off to the east. For something to be considered a tropical depression, tropical storm, or hurricane, and again, we're not talking about this thing being able to reach that upper echelon of a hurricane or anything like that. It needs to wrap those storms around its center. Again, that does not obviously look like your typical tropical system, and at that point, it wouldn't be. Again, the center is over land. Then you see it twist a little bit more, and then by Saturday evening, it's still right there. Elongated area of low pressure, now over the water. It might be able to do something at that point. But again, high-end potential with that storm is not going to be realized. I think the ceiling, again, tropical storm. Rain chances locally, 80% shot tomorrow, 80% shot on Saturday, 60% chance on Sunday. I mentioned this a couple of nights ago about rain chances. When you dial up the free News 6 weather app, everybody download that. It'll help you get you through the next couple of days, by the way, because even though there's a daunting 80%, okay, it doesn't mean it's going to be a washout. I think we have time early tomorrow afternoon across most of Central Florida. And then by fireworks time, um, we are going to watch those storms push to the west and just have a few showers lingering. It's really around dinner time, mainly the same places we saw today, and mainly at about the same time as we saw today. So don't let an 80% scare you. That literally means if you walk out of your door, there's an 80% shot that you get wet that day in some way, shape, or form. Okay. So just keep that in mind that it doesn't mean it's going to rain 80% of the time. That doesn't mean it's going to rain 80% of the area. That means that is your shot to get wet on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday right there. So again, do not be alarmed. News 6 weather app. It's a great tool to help guide you. It'll let you know if rain is in the area. Certainly, it will let you know if lightning is in the area if you have your location services turned on. So sounds like a sales pitch, but it really will help you out on a day like tomorrow and really the rest of the holiday weekend, unfortunately, going forward. Oh, Cheryl is visiting Brazil from Daytona Beach. So we had a question in the comments. And again, we get to especially the second part of the live stream, which we are here every Monday through Friday at 10 o'clock. By the way, this is kind of a programming note. Starting next week, post 4th of July, our show is going to move to 9:30. So make sure you guys bookmark that. If you like hanging out with us, like hanging out with me and talking about the weather and learning about stuff and commenting about what you guys think or what you guys are seeing and all that stuff, come visit us. Come hang out with us. We're here every night at 9:30 to 9:30, and we have a lot of fun just kind of shooting the breeze about the weather. So as mentioned, we had somebody post in the comments again about the drought and was it over in Brevard County. So there were some improvements northwest of I-4. Again, we're chipping away at that. But we are still considered to be in a severe drought in Brevard County. That was the specific ask. Melbourne, Palm Bay, Mico, that brown color, that indicates a severe drought still in Brevard County. The drought is gone now in Daytona Beach, in New Smyrna, in Sanford. It had been out in Orlando for a while, same Kissimmee, but now it's gone in Leesburg. It is now just considered abnormally dry on the north side of Leesburg. Still in a moderate drought in Marion County, parts of it anyway. Ocala, Denellen, parts of the National Forest. Sumter County, still considered there, especially as we get into Bushnell, Nobleton, Lake Panasoffkee. Thanks, Rail Stalker Adventures. I appreciate you tuning in and for the nice comment. So that is that. I want to show you also the Keach-Byram Drought Index. This is something that we showed a lot of. Some of the color table, we're so low, the color table is weird, and once we get into the double digits. But for perspective on this one, and there are a lot of numbers on this, but this gets into the real nitty gritty of how dry things are out there. In the height of our drought in Central Florida, which I believe now was late April, early May. I think that's what it was before we started to turn on the spigot a little bit and get some relief across parts of Central Florida anyway. We were in the 600s, pushing 700. 500, for perspective, is when counties enact their burn ban. You see, we're nowhere near that across most of Central Florida now. Sumter, we're back in the 80s. Lake, we're back in the 80s. And that little box with the number there is the change. We did go up in Flagler a little bit. Putnam, we're into the 300 range, so we could still use some rain up there. Brevard, we're one of the highest in Central Florida. We're at 211. At 211. What these numbers are, the higher the number, the drier the soil. The lower the number, the more moisture there is in the soil. And there's an average taken every day. So the measurements taken all over the county. That number that you see there is the average from all around that county. So if that makes sense, again, a lot of stuff going on there, but a lot of numbers going on, but it really helps to tell that drought story. So Melissa's asking about the dust, and there's a little bit of dust out there, just a little bit. It's nothing thick, certainly not like what we had a couple of weeks ago, but there's another big batch of it. This is in real time, by the way. Sorry, this is the model, I should say. Um, Pushing things over again. There comes another plume over for the weekend through Puerto Rico, through parts of the Caribbean into Mexico. And then this is early next week, another big kind of, not as dense, not as thick, but working its way across the Atlantic. It's part of the reason why it is so quiet. It's not the whole story. There's a big chunk of high pressure. The wind shear is going nuts. That helps to rip storms apart. Um, and all of the above is keeping the Atlantic quiet. Yeah, I know we had Andrea and I know we had Barry, but those things, Andrea was around for 12 hours, and that I don't know if you saw it on satellite. I mean, thankfully it was ugly. Barry, same deal. It was weak. It did bring heavy rain to Mexico. It was going to do that anyway, whether it got named or not. It did close up. It did get wind speeds enough, high enough to get named for, I think, 18 hours before it came ashore. So we've had two very, very short lived storms. The intensity of those, I mean, we're still in the, when you're looking at the season. And by the way, has anybody heard of ACE before, accumulated cyclone energy? Um, that is really, oh, Melissa, you're not bugging me at all. Not bugging me at all. Um, that is how the true measure of the hurricane season is really not the amount of named storms. Storms are named more frequently now because we have better technology by satellites to really get under the hood of the clouds and see if it's meeting the tropical characteristics. So Andrea may not have been named prior to satellites. A ship would have had to run into it. So the better metric here is accumulated cyclone energy. And once, and I know it's a big thing, but they're basically numbers. It's a metric that once a storm becomes named a tropical storm, ACE starts to generate. The more intense the storm is, and the longer it's out there, the more accumulated cyclone energy it conjures up, it creates. So that is going to be the better determination of the hurricane season. And I'm pulling up what it is right now on uh, on the other weather computer so that I can show you guys, because I think it's important. I think it's important that there's always perspective in here as well. So this is going to be the ACE chart. This is on Colorado State's website. Let me see. Okay, so Andrea had .2 ACE. Okay, that's nothing. We'll go back and look at last year. I think there's an archive on this. Barry had .4 ACE. So where we stand now, we have obviously .6 ACE, accumulated cyclone energy, that metric right there. And the average to date is, let's see, what is today? Today is July 3rd. Tomorrow's July 4th. Climatology is 2.7. Can you see that? No, there we go. So there we are, our little line at .6. The average is 2.7. So this is going to be, this point that I'm going to make here is going to be twofold. And the fact that, okay, yeah, we did cross off two names so far. They've done nothing. And that reflects here in ACE. So that's why I always, when we do kind of like the post-mortem on the season, I always show you guys, okay, we may have had 30 storms. I don't think we're going to have 30 storms. But if they were all cupcakes, then the ACE isn't going to be high. And ACE, again, measures the intensity of a hurricane season or a single storm. So average, again, to date is 2.7. So we are about 2 ACE points below normal. But still, look at what's to come. This is the average line. So, I mean, the average ACE, again, you're up to 100 and 120 something. Okay, that's climatology. So the other point of this 2 point um, is that all of that is still to come. Let me show you again. This might give a better example here. So, for instance, let me see here. We can So for perspective, okay, so now we're looking at the basin archives. So the most intense hurricane season on record, 1933. There were the ACE value again was 258.6. Obviously, I wasn't around back in 1933, but that would have been nuts to have 20 named storms with ACE that high. Okay, the next one, we know that one well, 2005. It did have the record for the most named storms for a while until 2020 came along, 245. So that the ACE points. And this is the point that I want to make with 2020. If you remember going back to 2020, I know that year is terrible, but we had the first 8, I think it took us 8 storms until we got our first hurricane. So they were very, very weak. They came early, they were developing all the time, but they were really short-lived storms. 2020's ACE, here we go. There's my highlight, 30 named storms, but the ACE number was 179.8. It was very intense at the end of the hurricane season. We had a couple of very strong storms in the Gulf. We had a couple of very strong storms in the Caribbean, Western Caribbean, back to back in Central America. Really major hurricanes down there. So there were a lot of intense hurricanes at the end, but there were not many early on. So again, I always like to show that perspective. Okay, yeah, we have these named storms, but there's more to the story here. So I like showing the ACE. We'll keep you up to date. Again, we're a little behind, but still, June and July typically don't generate a lot of intense storms. Last year was nuts because this time we were tracking Beryl. That was a crazy atypical storm. We've had Category 5 Emily before back in the day, 2005, in fact, that we just showed you there. So a lot of things to look at when you're categorizing the hurricane season. Melissa says, if Hurricane Melissa forms, I am running away. Let's hope not. So that is that. Sean is asking, what is the shot for Chantal to form? It's low. I think there's a better chance for a tropical depression. Let's get in there. I'm going to show you. I have a graphic here that shows the European ensembles. And this is the percentage for a tropical depression to form. Okay. So where you see that red area, that means that greater than 90% or greater than 80% of the ensembles of the European. And remember, if you're not familiar with ensembles, you know how we have computer models. We show them on TV all the time. Well, the European, obviously a model, but then there's an ensemble suite. So when we don't have a lot of data, there's different initial conditions put into the model. And just like a band, like the trumpet and the drums and all that stuff, they make up the entire ensemble. Each member of that ensemble will tell a different story based on those initial conditions. And if there are multiple ensembles suggesting a solution, there's a little more confidence in that. So 70 or 80% of the European ensembles are forecasting a tropical depression to form over the holiday weekend as it gets close to South Carolina. So that's the depression. Silver Steel brought up a really good point in the comments, and we're going to touch on that in just 1 second, but I don't want to have a squirrel moment and forget about the topic. Don't mind the title. I've changed the data. I didn't change the banner. So this is now the tropical storm. So to get Chantal, the European then drops the probability down to 30%. So there's a significant drop that we're going to get Chantal. However, now there's the one however. Again, I mentioned earlier, if you're just joining us, the curvature of the southeast of the United States will help to tighten things up a little bit. And we have the Gulf Stream. The European is not the best thing to look at when you're talking about intensity. And a lot of times, you get a storm to start developing a little core. It goes over the Gulf Stream and gets help from the South Carolina and Georgia, North Florida coastline to get that little bit of tightening, that counterclockwise motion there. And then you get a quick, short fused tropical storm. So that's why I think there's a decent shot for Chantal. Regardless, it's not changing the forecast. It doesn't have upper echelon. That is the upper echelon. That's the ceiling for this storm. It will be very, very short lived. Okay, so I want to go back there to Silver Steel's comment. He put in the comments on YouTube. And by the way, if you're just joining us, thank you for joining us. We have about a few minutes left. I have to learn how to keep a tight time here because starting on Monday, we're starting at 9:30, by the way. So if you are enjoying this live stream and this weather conversation that we have every Monday through Friday, starting on Monday, it's going to be at 9:30. Keep on coming back and remember that 9:30 time. But I only have a couple minutes left, so I want to talk about this. 2004 only had 15 named storms. Everybody remember 2004? If you were in Florida, you definitely remember that. 3 hurricane landfalls, 4 major impacts, not major storms, but major impacts. Ivan technically made landfall in Alabama, but the panhandle of Florida got the right front quadrant of Ivan. 15 named storms, but the ACE value was 226.9. Nuts. And I'll go back to that sheet there. So again, it's the quality versus quantity argument. 2004 got off to a very late start. The first named storm, I believe, formed on like July 31st. And then the rest is history. We had Charlie, Francis, Gene, all within 6 weeks in Central Florida. And then Ivan in there as well. Charlie was in what, August 12th or 13th? Was it Friday the 13th? August 13th. And then we had the other ones obviously follow. Gene, Francis, close by, Ivan. I mean, just nuts. I mean, I remember that season. Well, I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania originally, and we had the remnants of Ivan and Francis and Ivan, come through, and that's like one of the flood of record in that area. My dad's shop got completely flooded. PNC Park where the Pirates place. You can see the plaque down there for the high water mark. It did a lot of damage inland. And of course, Ivan also a record. I think it still has the record for the amount of tropical tornadoes that it produced on KDKA TV. You got it. As it moved up, it nailed Virginia with tropical tornado. I mean, just a remarkable storm, Hurricane Ivan, all around. Just wild stuff there. So again, quality, not quantity, in 2004, for sure. That's why we always say, even in a slow season, I mean, again, 92 is a great example. It didn't run up the ace because there were only a few storms, but there was Hurricane Andrew, and it only takes one. Alrighty, guys, I have to wrap up. Thank you a ton for tuning in tonight. Really appreciate it, guys. Again, tomorrow we're still here at 10. Monday, who's coming back at 9:30? Of course, I think by that point, we'll see if we have Chantal over the weekend or if we're still watching it on Monday. We'll talk about that. We'll get out of this pattern. But I hope to see you guys on Monday at 9:30 for the show. It was great hanging out with you guys. A lot of people on YouTube tonight, a lot of people watching on News 6 Plus. Thank you guys for making this stream possible, where we get to just hang out, talk about the weather. I'll give you the information you want and need to know in your local area. And then again, we get to have this off the rail kind of weather conversation. I was not expecting to talk about ACE tonight, but we got into this conversation. I think it was really good. All right, I got about 10 seconds left. We'll see you guys. Have a great and safe 4th of July. Appreciate you guys. I will see you back here 10 o'clock tomorrow. Free News 6 weather app. Great download, great tool. It's free again. You can track that lightning. If you're out tomorrow, I will see you in 30 minutes on News 6, CBS affiliate. in the greater Central Florida area. I'm going to show you that latest high resolution model data. It just came in. I'm going to get that all together in the graphic, and I'm going to show you at a little after 11 o'clock. Thank you a ton, guys. Have a great 4th. We will see you in 30 minutes on New 6.